you've been with us for about 9 years now, where you've been working constantly on becoming that professional network marketer that you are today. And honestly, like through that journey, like what are some key things that you had to do in order to make that mental shift? Because I know you're really a mental guy, and you were able to make a mental shift along this journey that just kind of made things click for you once you reach these elite ranks.
Yeah, thanks, Skylar. First, I want to say awesome job, Dr. Nancy Bryan. I was actually over here taking notes. That's why I put my screen on the picture instead, so people didn't see me scratching away. I hope you guys are taking lots of notes in this success mastery trainings. These things are super valuable. So to answer your question, though, it was definitely a mind shift. I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but I had to realize which skills would make that transition from the physical therapy and pharmaceutical world that I was in over into this professional network marketing world, and which ones didn't, right? Certain skills made the transition over and were very useful. I could apply them here if that made sense. Others could not. And don't take this the wrong way, but I was already super successful at pharmaceutical sales. So I just thought, well, this will be a breeze. I'll just transfer all the skills over, right? That was my initial thought process, is I'm just going to transfer all the skills over here. And it doesn't work that way, guys, because there's certain things that you need to be a physician like Dr. Bryan, or to be Sean and Michelle were in the banking world, right? Working for Wells Fargo, and I was in the pharmaceutical world. We each had to do certain things, but there are behaviors or skills that can transition over. So I challenge each and every one of you, figure out what those skills are that you can bring over from your previous life, so to speak, your profession, and be able to utilize here. Second thing I had to do is I had to get out of a me, M-E mindset, and get into a we mindset. Think about that one for a second, guys. In the pharmaceutical world, it was dog eat dog. I wanted to own the other pharmaceutical reps, right? That way my family got fed. That way I had a roof over my head. That way I succeeded. And it was all about me. It had nothing to do with we. This business, guys, is all about teamwork. 100% about teamwork. So you've got to get that through your head. If you're thick-skulled like I was, it takes a little longer to get that through your head, but eventually it'll click. The third point there I want to make on that first question is, write this down, guys. Less competition and more collaboration. Less competition, more collaboration. It's about working together. The folks that are on the line, I've been on Julie Mai's calls before. She's helped out with my team before. Marilee and I have trained together up in Vancouver. Sean and Michelle Poe, we've helped them and they've helped our teams before. Michelle and I have gone out on the road and trained in Texas together. That collaboration is what's going to rise this entire ship up. So that was something I was not used to in my previous world that I had to learn over here, to shift from really about the me to what are the skills that I'm best at that I can contribute, and where are the ones that I may be a little deficient in and I can rely on others to help raise my game, if that makes sense, Skylar.
That makes perfect sense. Spot on. Well, and I know just from knowing you for the past few years, I mean, we've spoken a lot, and I know one of the key things that made you wanted to make the transition that you did, even though you had such a successful career, you know, you were doing so many great things, was the time freedom type thing that you were going after. And I know a big piece of what you wanted to do with that time freedom is to spend more time with your family and everything like that. So I know, especially where you're kind of juggling what you're doing at that point. And then I know you also you're an entrepreneur, so you have other businesses outside of that. And I know you even mentioned at one point, you know, your wife kind of was like, oh my gosh, like you're taking on another thing right now. Like, I can't believe this. Like, so this is a lot to kind of bring onto your plate. So with that being said, maybe what are some of the challenges that you came across as you were going through that transition of trying to get the different aspects of still having that attention for the family, for the spouse and everything like that, you know, and then also just overcoming that? How do you move forward through that?
It was tricky, man. Let me tell you, it was tricky, especially at the beginning. I mean, full-time pharmaceutical rep. We had just opened up a bicycle shop 8 months prior to enrolling in LifeVantage. Um, Full-time, a father, husband, trying to win a fifth state championship bike racing. And then I'm like, oh, and yeah, by the way, now I'm going to add another thing to the plate. And especially, and I had to put myself, what I had to do is I had to put myself in my wife's shoes. Initially, it wasn't going well. I was trying to almost force the issue, but put yourself into her shoes. On the outside, things look great. I mean, I made killer money in the pharmaceutical industry. I had survived 6 rounds of cuts in less than 3 years. It was like every 6 months was another round of cuts, and I survived every single one of them. So in one regard, I could completely understand it, but what I really had to paint for not just myself, but my family was a long-term vision. We've heard this over and over again, guys, but you got to get it to sink into your heart. Short-term sacrifice for long-term gain, right? I was all about that. And I made promises to my family. I said, look, I'm going to bust my butt, guys. I'm not just going to do this half butt. I'm not just going to go into this and piddle paddle. If I want to make that transition to being a professional network marketer and buy my time back, essentially, go and work to get my time back, I'm going to make the hours count. And that's what, I see that happen every day in businesses where people say, yeah, my family is the most important thing. And yet they're not putting in those income producing activities that are going to get them that time with the thing that they say is the most important to them, which is their family. And it took me a little while to figure that out. But as soon as I figured that out, I'm like, great, I can compress this. I can get coaching. I can get mentoring. I can go and make myself better. I can go and build a library, listen to positive motivational things. I can go do all these things to take that time and compress it so that the sacrifice or the grunt work or the hard work where I had to spend time away from them was shorter in order to give me more time with them. There's one story that I wanted to tell, and it's brief. There was one night that I was going out to go do an opportunity meeting. I was a pro 5 or 6 at the time, been just grinding. I mean, I'm talking like 3-4 meetings a week, every week. After work, this is while I was still full-time, by the way, as a pharmaceutical rep. So I'm walking out the door, and Lance, my son, has his arms like wrapped around my leg. And, imagine this. I'm like dragging him along behind me as I'm trying to walk out the door to go do the meeting. He's crying his eyeballs out. I'm crying my eyeballs out, trying not to let him see, going, why am I doing this? Like, is it worth it? At the end of the day, is it worth it? What I realized was I let him know, look, Lance, I got to go this time. You got to let me go, I promise. But there's going to be a day where I'll be there all the time. It's written right here. That's why I have this, so you can see it in my office too. That's my why right there. I see it every day. It's right there in my desk, right next to our core values. And so it was my why that kept me going in those time periods. When they say your why has to make you cry, well, I was crying and he was crying. We were bawling our brains out as I was going to go do this meeting. But the meeting was going to happen because I promised the folks that I would do it. I promised myself and I promised my family. Because without that meeting, I wouldn't be able to get to where I needed to get to at the end result, to be that dad in the back of the classroom, that dad that doesn't miss practice, that doesn't miss games, that doesn't miss performances, that doesn't miss vacations, that doesn't miss anything. I had to be that dad. And so those are some of those strategies I would ask people to take away from that. Short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. Guys, if you're going to do it, make it count. Make it count.
Perfect. I love it. Well, yeah, I mean, not only did it just make you two cry, it's about to make me cry. So I appreciate you sharing that. That is awesome. Those are the stories that we do this for. This is why we're so passionate about this amazing opportunity that LifeVantage brings into people's lives. So thank you so much for just kind of bringing that to life. Well, I think we have time for about one more question. I'd like to know, I mean, you've made such a leap and bound from when you started clear back in 2011 over this 9-year journey that you're at today as an Elite Pro 7. If you could go back and tell 2011, Gary Stern, here's this one piece of advice that you really need to know to help your success on your way through the ranks and growing your business onto whatever your end goal is, what would that piece of advice be?
Great question. It would be difficult to narrow it down to one, but I would have gone back then and told myself, Gary, IQ does not determine your destiny. EQ does, especially self-discipline. Because back then, quite frankly, I had no clue what EQ meant. And I thought it was just the smartest person won the battle, right? That you just got better and smarter. And I should have stopped pretending to know everything, been humbled a little bit sooner, humbled myself a little bit sooner, learned the value of personal growth as soon as I would have said, dude, learn the value of personal growth as soon as humanly possible. Take massive action sooner, because this thing really does work. I mean, I kind of went into it and lollygagged for the first few months because I just didn't think, I thought network marketing was silly. I didn't think anybody made any money. Ladies on the line, I'm going to say something. Y'all are going to hate me for this, but I thought it was just women painting makeup on each other's faces and nobody made any money. Honest to goodness, like, I'll paint makeup on yours, you paint your stuff on mine, and we'll all be happy. And I realized that this is the time. This is the tsunami of growth. You've heard the Master Pro 10 say they rode that first tsunami coming out of the last recession that we're in. People are hurting right now. We have an answer. We have a solution for them for their health. We have a solution for them for their business. So I challenge each and every one of you guys to do something. Brandon challenged me to do this. He was the first guy to break through to me, not any other leader in network marketing. So write this one down, guys. First thing in the morning, take this, put it down. Pick up a self-development book. Pick up something for personal growth, a book, an audio, a video, something to get your day started off right. 15 to 20 minutes. Don't look at this first. Guys, it was so challenging for me to do that. No other leader has been able to get me to do that. I called Brandon yesterday and thanked him as I finished John Maxwell's book and told him that one habit, 2 weeks of doing this has made it a habit that I'll never get out of now, has changed the direction of my life. Do what is hard now and life will be easy. Because if you do what is easy now, life's going to be hard. That's what my boy Les Brown says. So I'll leave you with that, guys. Thank you, Skylar.
Love it. Actually, I'm not going to let you get away that easy. We have tons of comments coming in. What's EQ?
Emotional intelligence. So your
Perfect.
IQ is your intellectual quotient or your intellectual knowledge, right? How, for lack of a better term, how smart you are. And your IQ does not really change throughout your life. People think you can up it or down it. It really, you're kind of born with it. You know, some people say, oh, I have a really difficult time learning. They do. It's not like they're just making excuses. Others, things come naturally to them because their IQ, their intelligence quotient is higher. Your EQ is your emotional quotient, your emotional intelligence. Emotional Intelligence 2.0. I see that Jessica Perez typing that in right now. That's the book that changed my life. That's why I said I would have told Gary, read that thing early, dude, and figure this out. And when I finally figured it out, I'm like, my EQ guys, the bad examples they gave in the book, mine was worse than that. Like, they could have used me as the worst example in the book. That's how bad it was. No joke. I took the test. I'm like, oh, Lord, I really need to work on this. The good news is you can move your emotional intelligence quotient, not massive scores, but you can move it 20 or 30 points. Whereas your IQ, you're lucky if you can move that bad boy 5 points over the course of your lifetime. So that's what EQ is.
Perfect. I love it.